Ladies, gentlemen, and of course those genders without those kinds of endearments, welcome back to episode 18 of the Extra Casual podcast featuring your lovely hosts, Gavin
and Ashton.
Today, we're going to be doing a bit of an unusual episode, so to speak, where instead of doing a host of topics we normally do, because Ashton's going to be going on a vacation, we are going to be A, doing a bit of a shorter episode, and B, we're going to be doing one main episode through the entire, one main topic, I should say, throughout the entire thing. Yep. And that topic is, I am going to review the Ace Attorney trilogy. I beat this, a little while back. It was, a little bit before we went to the concert, but I knew that was basically going to be that's going to be the concert episode.
It's going to overshadow it.
Yeah. That, and it probably would made, the episode way longer than it really needed to be. So, instead, I just saved it for this week's. And, yeah. I guess, without further ado, let's get ready. So, I guess as a quick background, I'm talking about the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney trilogy, not, any of the newer ones.
There are newer ones?
Yeah. There's... let me look at Steam, because I know there's another trilogy.
Oh, wow. I thought they just stopped.
Yeah, the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, where Phoenix Wright isn't the main character.
Oh, yeah. You mentioned that before.
Yeah. There's also, I think, Apollo Justice Ace Attorney, but I don't know if that's what it's called. There's another Ace Attorney game where you play through, it's kind of international, Ace Attorney, to describe it as that, which isn't on Steam.
What do you mean international? Just a bunch of different languages you can play it on?
No. Basically, the character you play as works with Interpol, which is international police, so...
Oh.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of cool.
Yeah. So, I'm going to be doing things a lot bit different than how I reviewed the Devil May Cry trilogy. Because these games are a lot more structured into longer episodes instead of the Devil May Cry shorter levels. Then there's also, Devil May Cry also has a lot more of them. And I'm going to be giving a rating between 1 and 3 for each episode from each game, and by the end of I'll tally it all up.
You got paper?
Yeah, I can use my notes app on my phone.
Okay. So, for reference for the listeners, how many episodes are in one game?
So, the first game has 5 episodes, the second game has 4 episodes, and the third game has 5 episodes, so, yeah. Alright, so I will be getting to pretty heavy spoilers, because these are very story-driven games, so if you really care at all about playing these games, then just come back and listen to this once you've done playing all of them. If you don't, then, don't blame me if you feel like playing these games.
We're not liable for any turnarounds that you want to happen.
Yeah.
Once you heard, it cannot be unheard.
Yeah.
This is your warning.
I guess let's first go through the basics. In terms of gameplay, they're all very similar. Where basically, after the first trial which you approved, which I will go over in a few minutes, you investigate crime scenes to get evidence, and since you're playing as a defense attorney, you have to get your client found innocent of whatever they've been accused of. And during the trials, you have to kind of pick apart testimonies and stuff, you present evidence to shatter the testimony, or kind of dig in deeper to get more details, which could lead to you choosing the right evidence on the right little bit of information.
So basically, you just gotta build up a case with enough strong evidence until you get the victory screen, which is your person being not guilty.
Yeah, the client. I remember I was going to look into this, but I never really had the time, but I wonder if they actually worked with, like, law officials to, like, kind of get as accurate as possible. And if so, and that's really cool, because these games were released in, like, 2001, 2, and 3, respectively, so...
You mean just, like, all the court stuff, or just, like, the cases? Like, do you think, like, they were inspired by actual cases, or just more of, like, the logistics of the court?
Yeah, definitely the logistics, like, you know, like, what could be objectioned, you know, maybe talked with, like, other detectives to see, like, how the, like, investigation process works.
That'd be, like, cool if they did.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. Because, you know, for everything Capcom gets wrong, they tend to do a lot of right, too, so, you know, it's something. Alright, without further ado, let's get into episode 1 for each game. And like I said, I'm going to do a direct comparison. So episode 1 for the first game, it's you know, it's simple. Like, all of them are very simple.
Is this like the tutorial case?
Yeah, it's a tutorial. It's basically impossible to lose unless you're, you know, just really, really not trying that hard. Which, you know, you get some things wrong, you get some things right. You know, it's just kind of a. It's a process.
Doesn't really affect the ending outcome.
Well, you know, unless you lose, like, you can only, like, get so many things wrong in a case. Like, it's up. You have, like, 10 basically, like, hit points, but instead those are like basically the amount of penalties you can get. But even then, that's, like, not a very solid number, because you can get penalized 2 points or 3 points, or even later in the game, like, all points. So you have to get right on that try, or else you have to restart from a checkpoint.
So all the games near the final missions are like big thinking.
Yeah,
you gotta put a lot of effort into it.
Anyway, so basically, yeah, first game, you have it. You take control of Phoenix Wright, the protagonist of each of these games, and he is, at least in this case, a very inexperienced attorney. You know, he has to be coached along by his senior, Mia Fey. And, you know, through the trials and tribulations, he does win. And his client was a good friend of his from grade school who was accused of murder.
By the way, this is like my first time hearing most of this too, so...
I mean...
I'm like the audience side of this. I can answer the audience's questions, basically.
Yeah. And please, Ashton, ask him, because if not, it's just going to be a lot of me talking.
I should just mute my track. I'm not in this episode, it's just Gavin, guys.
That's not cool. Yeah, I mean, it's basic. I don't, like... And since it's the first case of the first game, I can't really hold too much against it for being basic.
Yeah.
The first case of the second game, Justice for All, it's a little bit more interesting, you know. It takes place like a few months after the final case of the first game. And what happened is the culprit hits Phoenix Wright over the head with a fire extinguisher, giving him temporary amnesia. So he basically has to go through court pretending he knows what he's talking about, which I think he did state, like, or at least think that some of this stuff was basically second nature due to the amount of times he's done it.
Wow. I've never heard this until now, and that is a really interesting, like, setup piece.
Yeah. Well... I only, like, streamed it to you, like, only a few times. And that's, like, probably during, like, some of the more middle cases.
Okay, I got a question.
Alright, what is it?
I guess the villain of the game, is it the same person through all 3 games?
No. Well, I don't know. It's complicated, but there. I guess what I can really say is that there are recurring antagonists, quote unquote, which are which is the prosecution, which they're not bad. They're just doing their jobs.
Yeah. So that's like the main person. They're not really a villain. They're just doing their job, defending their side.
Yeah, basically. And so basically that case is about you have to get a rookie police detective acquitted from murder. She's accused of killing one of her coworkers, and the really interesting thing is that they use evidence in really unique ways due to how they write it, and the writing's really good. And basically, what gave the culprit away was that the victim was given a yellow baseball glove, and he said that, and the culprit said it looked like a banana or something.
So it's an interesting, weird way to solve the case. It's not always just oh, this person saw them, end the case.
Yeah. Let's see. The culprit also said he was looking for a phone because he didn't have his at the time, but in the picture, there's a phone booth right next to the victim. Yeah.
It's kind of his own lie.
Yeah, basically.
So, I have another question.
Alright, what is it?
So, you have to build up until, basically he has no alibi, right?
Yeah, or at least the alibi is uncredible to the point where you have a certain edge against the prosecution.
So, for example, that, the picture of him saying he couldn't find his phone and there was a phone, for example, or, a reference for everyone, how much would that, affect their side of losing?
That'd be pretty damning. Because saying that you're looking for a phone booth, but having a phone booth be literally right next to the victim from, a crime scene photo, that would heavily imply that,
They're lying.
you had something to do with it, and you're looking for an excuse to leave the scene.
Yeah. Lied under oath.
Yep, that's perjury. I mean, he's also arrested for murder.
No, we don't need that one. He lied.
Yeah. And yeah. That's basically it for the first case of the second game. And the first case of the third game is very interesting. Because instead of taking the mantle of Phoenix Wright, instead you play as Mia Fey, Phoenix's mentor. When she was younger.
So it's before the other 2 games?
Yeah. And the interesting thing is that she is defending Phoenix Wright because he's accused of murder. Basically what it is that he was accused of killing a guy from basically electrocution by pushing him into a stray wire that got detached during a storm or something. Yeah, it's really, really interesting in that there's a lot of things that lead up to specific things, the true culprit knowing who Mia is, which will be explained later, and why certain motivations, the culprit was who Phoenix's girlfriend, Dahlia Thornburg, I think, and he was just such in a state of denial that he could not testify against her. The whole madly in love thing.
Wait, so she was the person that did it?
Yeah, and she wanted to get Phoenix Wright guilty of it so she could get away with it. And there's a lot more she wanted to get away with too, but like I said, I'll get to that later.
These are interesting.
Mm-hmm. And basically, in terms of ranking, I'm going to give the first game a 1 solely because just kind of how bare bones it is.
Mm-hmm.
The second game a 3 because of how like it kind of leads up to it, like complete skip the investigation and whatnot, go to the final day of the trial, and you kind of feel that tension, of not really knowing what to do because at that point Phoenix doesn't remember it having anything to do with the law, and you're not a lawyer, at least I don't think you are.
So you're just winging it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is, even without like, it's just that's just like a good story piece.
Mm-hmm. And I will give the third game's first episode a 2 because it gives a lot of background to Mia's and Phoenix's character,
mm-hmm.
and it kind of shows why Phoenix had such a respect for Mia.
Yeah, because it probably wasn't explained in the first game.
Yeah. I mean, she did defend him, so yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so moving on to case 2 for each of them. So starting with the first game, the victim is Mia Fey, a Phoenix's mentor, and what he has to do is, the police were someone witnessed it supposedly, and Mia's sister Maya is suspected of murder, and kind of owes a bit to, well, not really owes, but he feels like this is what he has to do as obviously as a
student of her.
As a ward, and due to their connection, I suppose, they're good friends. Like, that's how their relationship was described.
Mm-hmm.
It went more than just teacher student.
Yeah. With like more story, like more background information over 2 from the third game, it shows why he wanted to help too.
Mm-hmm.
They filled in the gaps.
Mm-hmm. And it gets really interesting because you go to like the hotel across and interview the person who supposedly saw the whole thing, like across from the murder scene, that is.
Let me guess, they're not reputable?
Well, they're reputable to a point, but that's only because they're covering for someone.
Oh.
Yeah, like I said, get to that later. Yeah, you get into contact with the detective who works there, a guy named Dick Gumshoe. Interesting name, I know.
That is an interesting name. It's like Barry.
Haha.
Barry Mick. I'm not gonna fish it right there.
Yeah, I don't really need to. He is a recurring character, and I think he's also a fan favorite because he's pretty goofy, but he does do his best, even if he isn't necessarily always working with you. Because
is he like is he another lawyer?
No, he's a detective.
Oh, so he's like an amateur detective?
Yeah. Basically.
Something that the audience could relate to, I guess.
Uh-huh.
Like, they could see themselves in his shoes.
Yeah, basically. That, and it also doesn't help that everyone basically thinks he's an idiot, which is unfortunate, but it's also kind of true.
Perfect for the audience.
Well, slow down there.
Don't worry, I'm an idiot too. I'm not saying I'm better.
Yeah, I am too. Don't worry. Anyway, yeah, the court case is really cool because, basically being able to slash down, like, well, I guess real quick before I get into that, you get to meet your rival prosecutor for the game, Miles Edgeworth, who is the fan favorite prosecutor.
So, for people that don't know and don't want to look up who he is, you probably have seen him before. You've definitely seen Phoenix Wright. So Phoenix Wright is the guy in the blue suit. He's one that goes like, "Hold it," and stuff like
Objection.
That. Yeah.
Take that.
The other guy is like his, like, other
right.
opposite half of him, and he wears red and has gray hair, I think.
Yeah.
Wears a red suit, gray hair.
Yeah, I actually kind of want to talk about that. Like, the parallels between them. You know, there's the clear distinction of a blue suit versus a red suit.
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix has spike hair, like his hair's like spiked up in the back. Meanwhile, Edgeworth's hair is completely like slicked down.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
do they have different? Do they have different like opposite personalities?
Kind of. Like, Edgeworth was described to be a man to be feared in court. Like, he was said to be like one of the best in the business. Meanwhile, Phoenix is he's a fledgling basically. He's new to it.
Oh, that's another opposite.
Yeah, and in court, Edgeworth is a lot more confident, mostly because like
he's had more experience.
Yeah, that in the game camp goes based off of Japanese law, where prosecution is more likely to win. It's guilty till proven innocent, unlike here in America, innocent till proven guilty.
Mm-hmm. So if you ever go to like Japan or anything like that, do not do any crimes.
Yeah, don't do anything to get you arrested.
They will hold you for like literally like weeks until they're like, nah, you're still guilty, but we don't have evidence of you being not guilty, so we're gonna keep you.
Yeah, especially don't do murder, because I think another thing they take is that the penalty for murder is death. A life for a life.
Eye for an eye.
Yeah. And let's see. Anyway, I guess back to the case. Yeah. So you basically have the ability to like come in contact with the real perpetrator, or the real culprit, I should say. And he is a very powerful guy. Like his business is literally deals in information. You know, he gets information from basically free. He even says that he knows a lot of things about everybody, and that even like the FBI he can even blackmail the FBI or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, like that's supposedly how powerful he is. And like the background behind this guy is that Mia was looking into him because he was like a main suspect for a very like big crime that led to the disappearance of her mom. And she wanted to, she wanted to finally be able to pin him on something. And that's why she was killed, This was the guy that killed her. And it's also stated that he held such a big influence that he even had the judge in his back pocket.
He was like threatening the judge. He's like, if you don't get me out of here, your family goes bye-bye.
Well, it wasn't like that. It's just that like he was able to use like his outward charm, so to speak, to kind of get away with a lot of things. Well, until he went up against Phoenix Wright.
So he wasn't blackmailing him, he was like socially engineering him, I guess. Kind of. Yeah, like knowing what he likes and what he doesn't like.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. Like, I don't know if it's specifically described as blackmail or how it's described, but it was stated that he had connections. Yeah. And it's really satisfying to see that guy being put away, especially because halfway through the case, instead of Maya Fey being the suspect, you were the Phoenix Wright became the suspect halfway through, because one of the witnesses stated that it was decided that it was a man who attacked Mia, and the witness said that it was Phoenix, and he had to defend himself from there on out.
Interesting. Isn't that like not allowed though? Wait, no, never mind. It is allowed. I was about to say you can't defend yourself in court, but you definitely can.
Yes, you can.
You know those people that are like, I'll just defend myself in court. I don't need a lawyer.
Well, you're given one by the state if you can't afford one. Like the interesting thing is that despite the fact that it has a lot of parallels with Japanese law enforcement and like law rules and whatnot, the game still takes place in America, which is odd. Yeah. Let's see.
Was it like localized or something?
No, it wasn't localized. I think it was just straight up takes place in America.
Hmm.
Well, actually, it might have been localized. I don't know. This is like back during the time when, like I said, this is 2001. Back when, America had to play a game in America, or with like American cast and whatnot, American mannerisms. So, who knows?
I guess if you want to look it up, you could.
Yeah. Anyway, so case 2 for.
Wait, we need a rating for the first one.
Oh yeah, that's true. Thanks for reminding me.
I'm writing it down too.
Yeah. I'm going to have to give it like a 3 because of how personal it is to all the characters involved, and like that guy's a satisfactory feeling. And also, we're like halfway through the runtime, so I better pick it up.
Okay. But it's like good character development?
Yeah. Alright. Well, shame I'm not going to be able to go as in-depth as I really want to, but... let's see. Second case, second game. So, basically, Maya Fey is once again accused of murder. And you have to, once again, bail her out. And that's when you meet this game's prosecutor, Franziska von Karma, which is the daughter of another...
the girl with the blue hair?
Yeah, the bluish hair. She also has a whip for whatever reason.
Yeah, wasn't in her description like she was doing like court at a very young age or something?
13. She was prosecuting from the age of 13.
I don't think that's quite legal, but we're just gonna go with it.
And she was raised in Germany, so, like, if it was legal there, then whatever. Anyway, yeah, so you have to defend her again. You meet, Maya's cousin Pearl, and, like, their whole deal is, they're spirit mediums, so they can, like, summon the souls of the dead to, like, get information.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it's interesting. Yeah, she was accused of killing one of her clients, but it turned out she was drugged and like stashed somewhere else, like to make it seem like she had killed them, like during one of these summonings. And the second game has a new mechanic during investigations where you can use a megatama that Maya gives you to kind of see if someone's telling the truth or not. And if they're not, you have to collect pieces of evidence to basically force the truth out of them. Which is a really interesting gameplay element.
So, like, you know that they're lying, but, like, you still have to prove that it's a lie?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, like, the main culprit was the one girl that supposedly died, or is a nurse who, like, supposedly accidentally poisoned... 14 people, and she won payback against the doctor who like blamed her for it. And Maya's aunt, who wanted her out of the way so her cousin or Pearl could lead the village that they like Maya's kind of like entitled to lead due to like bloodline or whatever. It's complicated.
So it was like a murder to try to get like the inheritance to them.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll give that a 2 because it's very good. It wasn't as personal as the first case, but it was still pretty good. In the third case, or in the second case of the third game, it's very different because instead of having to defend someone that you're decently close with, instead you defend someone that's claimed to be like basically a gentleman thief. And the thing is that your client wanted to be convicted guilty of thievery, so he could not be convicted guilty of murder, because like his former he was placed under suspicion of killing his former boss. And the real cool thing is that like this like ace detective guy, he takes the fall for being the thief because he's the actual killer, because the idea is. if I'm convicted of thievery, I can't be convicted of murder because the robbery, so to speak, and the murder took place around the same time. And like the real funny part is that your client gets off the hook for both. He's proven innocent of thievery, and then you get him declared innocent of murder, and due to double jeopardy, he can't be tried again.
Wait, so like he purposely wanted you to like to fail enough, so then he's convicted convicted with robbery, but then you make him innocent of robbery, and he's like, wait, what are you doing? And then you get him Jesus, not guilty. You get him innocent of murder, and he's like, wait, that's not what I asked for, but thank you.
I think like one of the lines was, you should get your act together.
But
yeah. Anyway, so on to the third cases. Oh yeah. I guess I'll give this one a 1. Like I will happily say that this was like a very genius case.
It sounds genius.
And you also get to see a character from the second game who was like was like in a very negative mind space, like them being seen as like a lot better, like mentally, which is good. Yeah. Let's see. Anyway, third case. In my opinion, all of these are the weakest of each games. Mostly because they don't really have that personal element, and their characters aren't really my favorite.
It's kind of like the start to the climax, basically.
Yeah. Anyway, so in the first game, you have to defend an actor who has been accused of murdering murdering a co-star. And like you basically have to do like a lot of running around, and like you have to like logic a lot of things out, as these games are.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is that the victim was actually going to commit a murder of his own and blame it on your client by wearing like his costume that he wears on set. And he died instead because the person was able to defend themselves.
These are so like all these ones that I've heard so far, they're all like bizarre and like zany ways of cases, but these have all probably happened in real life.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it was good. Yeah. I'll give this one a 2 because I liked it more than the second one, but I thought the one in the third one is a bit better. Yeah, so the one in the second one, you have to defend a magician from murder, and yeah, it's really interesting because like the victim was not the intended target. Instead, it was someone else because the culprit, their brother, ended up dying in an accident, which was kind of accidentally. Well, obviously, it's an accidentally. Brought upon like what was supposed to be like a harmless joke.
It's a prank gone wrong.
Yeah, basically. And in the third case of the second game, I guess real quick, the prosecutor for the third game, Godot, that's literally what he's called. He's a very interesting guy, and not a whole lot's known about him. Anyway, yeah, I'll give that. Yeah, like I said, I'll give that one a 1 because I don't know. I didn't really like the theming. Like, not really much of a circus guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's see. The third case for the third game. Basically, it starts out with your client already being convicted, but that's because the person who defended your client was a false attorney. So the idea was they didn't get a fair trial, so they're allowed to have another one. And this, interestingly enough, this was one of your previous clients from the second game. I guess real quick, the idea is that your client has really bad luck. So
just stuff keeps happening. Bad things happen over and over and over again.
Yeah, basically. Like, the reason why I like this case like a bit more than the like case 3 on all the other games is because of the dynamic. Because you're fighting for someone who's already been convicted, but you're trying to get that conviction overturned, and you are able to confront the person that was posing as you because the person who defended that client looked like Phoenix Wright, but was not Phoenix Wright. Which a lot of people like wondered how like they managed to get him mixed up, but I don't know. Yeah. It was definitely a bit more goofy. Like there's a lot of like other darker themes, like I think one of them like the culprit's connected to like the mob in like some way. Like I think he's like dating someone that has like ties to the mob.
Interesting.
And like the main like crime scene, the owner is like in severe debt, so he like has to steal from his customers to help pay it off. Yeah, it's interesting. All right, so now for the 4th case.
Reading.
Yeah, I'll give this one a 3. Like I said, I do think it was the best out of the 3 cases.
Okay.
Now, 4th case. This for the first game, the 4th case is definitely by far the best because you defend Edgeworth. He's convicted, or not convicted. He's accused of murder.
You gotta help the bad guy.
Well, not the bad guy. It's been stated that he and Edgeworth have been friends. Like they were friends a long time ago until a very specific incident, which I will go over in brief, because it does get shown up in this topic. Or in this case.
So they got the Naruto and Sasuke treatment. They were friends. They were enemies. And they might be friends again.
I'd say Dante and Virgil, since, they're both Capcom games.
There you go.
Anyway, yeah, so, yeah, he's accused of murder, and you have to go against a man called Manfred von Karma, which may sound familiar because he is the father of Franziska von Karma. Yeah, and he never lost a case ever, and like the only thing that ever really happened to him is like one little infraction, like in his history.
Wouldn't that be like suspicious though if he's never lost a case?
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, like there's like even the rumors like forged evidence and stuff like that.
Yeah. Bribery.
And the very interesting part is that obviously Edgeworth is innocent. He is set up to appear to have murdered someone, which was a former bailiff of the court you put in because basically that bailiff was accused of murdering Edgeworth's father in a incident that happened when he was younger. Yeah, but the real big thing is that Edgeworth was going to admit to killing his own father because he genuinely thought he did it, like all that time back then. Like I guess that for context, the bailiff was attacking his father because they're stuck in an elevator. And
elevator rage happens to us all.
Well, there was depleting oxygen, so. Oh,
they were stuck in there for that long.
Yeah, it was after an earthquake. So, yeah. Yeah. Edgeworth picked up a gun, threw it. The gun went off, and he thought, he killed his father.
Yeah.
But what it turned out to be was Von Karma was in the building, and when all of them passed out from oxygen starvation or whatever, lack of oxygen. He picked up the gun that was on the ground, and because Edgeworth's father was the one who managed to get Von Karma a penalty in court, which would have been like the first mark on his legal record. He killed him in revenge. And it's even said that like when Edgeworth threw the gun and the gun fired, it went through the door and hit Von Karma in the shoulder. And he even said that that his father left a a professional mark, while Edgeworth left a physical mark. Which is ironic when you learn that Edgeworth was taught by Von Karma to be a prosecutor. Yeah. I'm definitely have to give that case a 3 out of 3 because it's very personal. It's really, really interesting how like things get turned around.
It sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
There's probably more to it too.
Yeah.
It's just like you didn't mention that was really good about it.
Yeah. The fourth case for the second game, man, it was really, really good. Like by far the best case. Which is kind of a shame since I already gave the 3 rating, but whatever. Basically, you have to get another actor innocent of murder, but the big interesting thing is that he hired an assassin to kill his target, and murder by proxy and whatnot. And Maya, the person that you've been working with, she gets kidnapped by the assassin as kind of leverage for Phoenix to force into defending this guy. So basically, by the end, it's a case of you having to, chip away at, every single testimony, even your own clients, to, show that, he ended up doing it. Like, this is the only case in, all 3 games where you willingly lose. And basically, the assassin's code of conduct is if the client accuses someone else of murder, if they're caught, then they will no longer be part of the contract. And that's exactly what happens. Your client was found out that by the assassin that he tried to basically break agreements in their contract. And the assassin said that he would be the next target, your client. And the big thing is that you say that he could be considered not guilty, but he would be hunted for the rest of his life. Or you can say considered guilty because for the same reason he'd be safer behind bars than out in the world.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was a really, really good case.
I never thought that the cases could get this in depth.
Yeah.
I thought it was just basic the whole entire game, you're just solving basic law court cases. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy. Let's see. And the fourth case for the third game, I guess I'll give I think I said I'll give the last one to 2, yeah. Anyway, it's very short. It only takes place around one day, and you are once again playing as Mia Fey in the past, where she's defending a death row inmate for murder, and the big thing is that he couldn't have done it because there's very specific things that didn't really line up in each testimony, and it was said that this was the case that almost ended her attorney, her career as a defense attorney, because of how it ended. And basically how it ended is that the murder is able to be pinned on someone else, but the client was in love with them, and they didn't want to pin the blame on the person they loved. It sounds familiar, don't it?
No, it doesn't sound familiar. If you mention it, it'll probably make sense of what it sounds familiar with, but it's just so goofy.
It's in correlation with the first case of that game, because the girl that he's in love with is the same girl that Phoenix was dating in the first case.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they basically had him
first game.
Yeah. They had him cornered. He was basically had to give this person up, but instead of doing that, he committed suicide in the court.
In the court?
Yeah, because he didn't want to give it up.
Oh.
He would have been put away for theft, and something else, but he wouldn't have been killed over that.
I did not expect that ending.
Yeah, neither was I.
And was it really that fast and that sudden?
Yeah, the person helping Mia gave him some coffee because he wanted something to drink, and he put poison in it. He poisoned himself.
And was it like basically like said he's dead?
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, he's just put off.
I mean, it like I said, it was the case that almost made Mia Fey stop being a defense attorney altogether. So, and that was her first case.
Her first case. Wow. Mm-hmm. What an amazing first case.
Yeah. I guess there's also a little bit of trivia. That's also Edgeworth's first case as a prosecutor.
Did he want to quit or no?
No. Like, it's never really explained, like, how he took it. But, like, I think it was implied that he's also pretty shaken up over it, but he continued doing his work as per normal. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and I guess there's, like, a nice little additional Easter egg for the fourth case in the second game. Edgeworth is the main prosecutor you go up against, so, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I'll give this one a 1 because it is short, but also does give a lot of, in-context history to, like, a lot of motivations and stuff like that.
And compared to the other ones are a little bit better.
Yeah, definitely. And, like, well, longer, too.
Yeah.
And now, for the fifth case of the first game and the third game. The second one doesn't have one, so I'll just give that a 0 by default. Okay. Actually, I'll give it a 1 by default. I'll be a little bit more fair.
Yeah. Okay.
Alright. So, basically, you have to defend for the first game, fifth case, you have to defend the leading prosecutor at the prosecutor's office. I forget the exact term, but yeah. She wanted to be convicted guilty because, they didn't want to go through all the trouble of it, and by what evidence they could pick up on, there's no way they could be considered innocent. But man, it took so many interesting turns. Like, the chief of police gets involved, and he's behind the entire thing, along with a murder that took place 2 years ago. Who everyone in the case they come across was involved in with some way.
So she wanted to give up, and then Phoenix Wright was like, "No, I don't feel like doing that."
Yeah. Well, not prosecutor. A defense attorney must always work as if they know that their client is innocent.
So even if she wanted that, he still had to play his part.
Yeah. And the real cool, big part, which I find is so cool, is that by the end of the case, the chief of police, he's put in the crosshairs because he's been accused of the murder that happened during the trial, and the murder that happened that time ago that all the other supporting characters you run into were involved with. Yeah. And by the end, even when Wright was kind of out of ammunition to use, Edgeworth comes in to kind of keep things moving, because it's been very clear that Edgeworth, despite all the rumors about him, he is a man for the truth. Prosecution is just a way of him trying to get to it.
So he helps out then?
Yeah.
Does he turn the case over?
What do you mean by that?
He makes it back favoring on your side?
Yeah, basically. And you get the chief of police you get him to admit to committing both those murders. Which is insane. Phoenix
Wright just sounds like the guy that there could be a murder case, and it's clearly obvious that that's the murderer right there, and then he just points to somebody in the crowd and he's like, "You, I have all the evidence to prove that he is the murderer."
And it somehow works, yeah.
And then everyone believes him.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, it's basically a running joke that in every game, everyone's against him. Except for his client and the people that are actively on his side. Yeah. So anyway, the fifth case of the third game.
Rating.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna give this one a 2 because the fifth case of the third game is like just that good.
Well, now we know what tops it. Now we get to hear why it tops it.
Yeah. So I guess as the first big point is that like there's a few returning characters like Edgeworth. He comes back. In fact, you actually get to play as him for like the first day, and he actually takes part. He actually takes the role of defense attorney, which in his history he wanted to become a defense attorney like his dad before he was killed.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's very interesting to see what he thinks, like kind of his mannerisms, and they actually give him like voice lines for like him like having to press in on someone's statements and stuff.
Wait, like voice lines, like, because aren't the characters usually silent? Like,
yeah, it's text, like, but there's like the three actually voice lines are hold it, objection, and take that.
Oh, so it's just those, but just extra text.
Yeah, and for Phoenix, me, and Edgeworth, all three of them have, at least of the third game, have those like voice acted. Yeah. And I guess real quick, as the reason why Edgeworth has to get involved is because Phoenix had a near triple death, so yeah, so while he was recovering, Edgeworth had to get involved. And I guess as another thing, the prosecution who was going up against Edgeworth was Franziska von Karma, because he was able to pull some strings to get her against him.
Yeah. So it's like the final showdown.
Yeah. And then it keeps on like going, like, Phoenix was able to recover like at least to enough where he can start investigating by himself. The prosecutor he normally goes up against in the third game, he takes up the mantle of prosecutor now that Phoenix is back up and running.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just really insane because like a lot of the things about like spirit mediums like are explained like that weren't explained in the second and first game, which there's a lot of explaining about it, but just like the little last like points. You like in the last part of the like one of the last parts of the final trial day, you basically are interrogating the spirit of the person who tried to get Phoenix convicted of murder, like the 5 years before the events of the third game. And the other thing that's crazy is that Mia, who's able to basically come back from beyond the grave due to like this medium stuff, basically said that even though we can't punish you beyond since you're already dead, we can basically ruin your reputation.
There you go.
And that's exactly what happened. And as a final like little bit, the intended victim was supposed to be Maya, because like the idea was that her aunt wanted to work with another death row, with a death row person, and to get her revenge. And the idea was to use her spirit from beyond the grave to kill Maya, but they weren't the victim, obviously. And instead it was, the actual victim. And the person who was found guilty at the end of it was the rival prosecutor, Godot. He stated like that, he was placed in a coma because he was poisoned, like 5 years back. Mm-hmm. And when he woke up, that like his life basically kind of went crashing down. Like, the person who he loved, which was Mia Fey, was dead. Phoenix Wright was kind of having to withhold her memory and whatnot, and he didn't approve because he couldn't protect her.
Yeah, he felt guilty that he couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, well, he's mad at Phoenix because he didn't protect Mia, but yeah. in the end, like the big thing is that he admits that he was kind of blinded by a mix of rage and denial. Like he was trying to say like it wasn't his fault, like his own fault that this bad stuff happened, and he was angry, of course, that Phoenix didn't do anything because he couldn't really do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. It was very emotional.
5, 6.
Yeah, and I really liked it.
Yeah, it sounds really good.
Yeah, it is really good. And we went 20 minutes over what it was.
I'm tallying up everything right now.
Yeah. So let's see. 1, 3, 2, 3,
4, 6. Oh,
I didn't. 11 for the first one.
Okay, so
9 for the second one. And 10 for the third one. So as long as my math is correct, in terms of points, third place goes to the second game. Not really its fault, just the fact that I had one less case than all the others kind of screwed it over.
Yeah.
I only give it 1, 3, 2. The second place is the third game, Trials and Tribulations. The second game is Justice for All. Yeah, I guess just to put it out there, I love all these, like, each of these games. Just I guess in this case there's a bit of a clear victor in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is with 10 points. The Justice for All was 9. And with 11 points, the first Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney game with 11 points.
I want to point out something kind of funny here.
What?
So Gavin said that the third act or the third case of each game is kind of like the most boring cases. And then also his ratings portray that too, where first game, number 1, second game is third, and then the third game is the second place. I just want to point it out. It was kind of funny.
Oh, that's actually pretty funny. For the first case, I ranked 1, 2, and 3, which was the same rankings for them overall.
Well, yeah, and also just that too. There's 3 things here that correlate to that.
Oh, you're thinking of something else.
Oh wait, no, it's inverse. Oh well.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, that's it.
Yep, that's it. That was the episode of me doing my best to, rate the Ace Attorney trilogy in a coherent manner.
Mm-hmm. And you could probably still replay the games even after listening to this, actually.
Yeah, they're very replayable. After the first, I left a lot of details out, overall, so you can still have a decently fresh experience.
For reference, most games, you can know how the ending is and still be able to play it.
Yeah.
For reference with me, I knew how Persona 4 ended, but I was still able to, enjoy the game all the way to the end, and there was still, not cliffhangers, twists and turns.
For sake of reference, I knew how Persona 5 ended. In fact, I think I knew how, most of the story went, and I still love that game.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, I have a game that I could review.
Persona 4?
Yeah. I didn't think of that. Maybe we can do that in the future.
Yeah. But how about next episode? It just depends how much you have to say about it.
I could stretch it out if I really wanted to. We're just gonna have review episodes where the whole entire episode is just one big retrospective review.
Yeah. It's probably gonna be a lot more easy for you because you get to go along one certain point and I have to go through one certain point but 3 times.
Yeah. Well, I guess mine would be easier too because I don't have to go through each day. I just go major points.
Yeah. Okay. I guess also for sake of reference, I'm looking at it on Steam. It took me 66.5 hours to complete all 3 games. So.
Which one would you think took the longest?
Probably the first game.
Probably because you were just getting used to it. All that.
Yeah, I think that took me around 23 hours to beat. Then it was, I think, my quickest was Justice for All because there's only 4 cases.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess that's wrap.
Yep. That's it. Don't worry, this shouldn't take too long for me to edit. Mostly because Gavin was talking mostly the whole time.
Yeah, you're gonna be editing mostly my audio track.
Yeah. Oh well. Gavin wanted to get the review out, so we got the review out. And I have a topic. Trust me, guys. I have a topic like a me segment coming up soon.
Yep.
We just gotta find time for me to actually introduce it and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. I also have a couple of wacky dreams, but I guess we could do that later because this is already getting kind of long.
Yeah. No, we're just gonna record for another 3 hours. We're gonna record until I have to leave. Actually.
I mean, if we're gonna do that, I could have gone into each of these cases in detail.
No, you can just repeat it now. Okay, back with game 1.
Okay, yeah.
But
Alright,
on an actual note, very serious note, guys. Oh, I gotta do the promote, Gavin. You need to prove. Okay. So here's a topic that we're gonna imagine here now. You are sitting in court, and there's somebody across in the court saying that this podcast is 1 star. You have to prove to them that the 5 star is not guilty. The 5 star is the overall best option for this podcast. And you're gonna do that. Do you know how you can do it? You're just gonna go on the app and just press the 5 stars. It's not as hard as an actual case. You just go press 5 stars and you win. Not guilty. But if you don't press it, then you're guilty. You're getting 25 life in prison.
You're getting 25 to life.
Quadruple execution.
You're
firing, lethal injection, hanging, drowning, all of them at once.
It sounds like cruel and unusual punishment to me.
Well, that's what happens when you don't like the podcast. Okay. That's a joke.
Right,
that's not a threat.
That's a little much.
But,
calm down, FBI.
We're sorry, please. But yeah, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed and listened to it. Hopefully you can grasp everything out. But yeah, this is Ashton.
And this was Gavin.
And we will talk to you guys next week.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Bye-bye.